Hey, how y'all doing? My voice is really low. I went to a sports bar last night to watch the game. Seahawks lost. Big fucking bummer. And somebody gave me a cold. I don't know who it is, but I'm gonna beat their ass. Um, I thought I was gonna escape 2019 without a cold. Nope, one more snuck right back up on me. But I still want to talk about what. Yeah, if you're wondering what this is, more notes. Gotta keep consistent. Sometimes I do better when I write stuff down as opposed to just doing it off the top of the dome, and especially with critiquing stuff, because when I type it down or write it down first, I feel like I'd put it out more coherently. So if I look like I'm looking away or glancing down, it's just me looking at my piece of paper and seeing what I wrote. And the last one I did was Good Omens, and this one I'm doing a TV rec for another mini series. This one on Netflix, which is what everyone else said, of course, but I'm also saying is one of the best pieces of television I've seen all year, and that's the Netflix mini series When They See Us. The uh, the acting in this limited series was absolutely phenomenal. The four young actors who played the exonerated five. I can't can't for the life of me remember all the actors' names, but there's only one that played both the young and the adult version of the character, and that's the actor who played Corey Wise, Gerald Jerome, and he's the one that's been getting a lot of shine for his portrayal of that person, and it's shine he very well deserves because it was a performance that was flooring. He was incredible in that. Uh, every single performer in this were pretty much firing on all cylinders. It was an actor's showcase. It was a writer's showcase. It was probably, aside from Selma and movies, probably the best thing I've seen Ava DuVernay do, and it makes me look forward that much more to seeing what else she does. And I wasn't that big of a fan of A Wrinkle in Time, and that's not because of her direction. It was mainly because of how the story was put out. But she's an incredibly talented filmmaker, and her direction here is probably the strongest I've ever seen it. Uh, it's only 4 episodes long, but each of them is a little bit over an hour. The very last one being almost an hour and a half, so almost feature length. And they provide a whole lot of detail and a whole lot of development of character. The first and final episodes alone are two of the best episodes of television I've seen in a long time. They're just fascinating, they're gripping, they're, what's the word I'm looking for? Prescient, angering. It's it's just one big snowball that just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Starting with trouble in Central Park and the cops rounding people up. This is late '80s, and these five young boys getting pinned for something they had nothing to do with, and law enforcement needing results or something to come through from it so badly that, oh, we don't have an actual perpetrator, we'll just make one. Problem solved. Uh, yeah, like I said, the first and fourth episodes in particular were both standouts as they were just outstandingly done. The writing was gripping, the dialogue was, on point. Uh, like the best part of it overall is by far the acting. All of the actors were so good in this. Also, side note, there's a specific fuck you to Donald Trump in this show, and mentioning him by name, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason. The good reason is because, well, not good reason, but it's just the reason why he's included in there, or you got to see his fuck ass face, is because in the late '80s he put an article in, I want to say it was a New York Times, that said, "Bring back the death penalty," bring back our police. And kind of fueling this sort of already racially tension-fueled environment. And the mom of one of the kids in one of the episodes is actually going to, it's either the courthouse or the police station, to go get her son. And one of the reporters asks her, what do you think of Donald Trump essentially wishing death on your son? And she freaks out like, what the fuck did you just say to me? So yeah, he's mentioned a few times, and not flatteringly so, because yeah, he did a real piece of shit thing. The investigation itself, as detailed in the very first episode, like the first half of the episode, it just shows the inner lives of these 5 boys, like how they were when they were kids, just being around their New York neighborhood, just living their young lives. And going out to Central Park because a whole bunch of other kids were wilding. They made a big deal out of the fact that all these persnickety white detectives and cops did not know what the fuck wilding meant. They all was like, what, could you please tell me what is wilding? What were you and the other kids wilding for? What does this entail? It's there's especially one in particular, one investigator. Oh my fucking god. And knowing that she's a real person makes you, if you didn't know who she was before, you'll despise her after watching this. But the investigation itself was flawed, biased, and highly prejudiced from the start. What they essentially did was they took what the group was predominantly young African American and Latino men, and said, oh, all these kids were out here causing ruckus and trouble in the park, and this lady got attacked, so some of these kids, or a few of them, had to have done it. So they went into it never once with the assumption that any of these kids didn't do it. They went in there immediately with the assumption that these kids had to be guilty. There's no way they couldn't have done it. There's no way that just one guy did. It had to be all 5 of them all ganging up on one woman, when it turned out that was very much not the case. And when each of these detectives got these kids in a room with no parents, no lawyers, no sort of knowledge of legality, they're just sort of thrown in here, and these detectives, cops, investigators, and everybody in this legal system have basically concocted scripts for them to read. They've got stories already made up. Like, we need this to work in order for these kids to be the criminals that we claim they are. We don't want to look like incompetent assholes. We need these kids to be guilty. And even if they're not, we will make them guilty, goddammit. And just the interrogation scenes with each of these 5 young men getting just harassed and bullied, and one of them straight up beat the fuck up and slapped upside the head. They coerce false confessions out of these kids the same way torture coerces false information out of suspects. Like, they will tell you pretty much everything you want to know in order to have the bullshit stopped. So when they get into court, it don't realize until it's the very last minute that they've all been fucked over, and that they're all going to jail for something they had absolutely nothing to do with. It really is a sobering and painful reminder that the justice system, as well as the legal system in general in America, is completely and utterly fucked. And it's especially fucked and designed to be unfair to people of color. And it's very clear, not just, from watching the news, but just seeing what happens on the streets, especially in places like New York or LA. And I say exonerated 5, not Central Park 5, because, proper titles for the guys who did not actually do that shit. It was done by one guy, by the way, just one guy. I don't remember what the guy's name was, but there's an episode where they do show him confessing to all of his crimes and shit. Because he sees Corey Wise in prison. He's like, he's serving time for something I did. So I need to fess up and have them release him. It's a long ass time to admit that you did some shit when a guy already served several years for the deed that you already done. But it's like you can release someone from jail after falsely accusing them or falsely imprisoning them, but you can't give them their time back. You can't stick them in a time machine and send them back to 1989 or whatever year. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 1989. And give them their young lives back. They lost several years. Corey lost the most years out of all of them. Because I think most of them got locked up for 6 or 7 years. He got locked up for like 13, 14. And from 1989, he didn't get let out till after 9/11. The dude had to be in prison and see the Twin Towers fall in prison. Like, you think your life's depressing. After the investigation, because I mistakenly thought it was going to be 5 episodes, like each of the 5 episodes would be each from the 5 boys' point of view separately. But no, the 4 episodes, the first one is the actual event itself, and then the investigation of how utterly fucked up it was. The second and third episodes, the second one is a lot of courtroom drama. Like the ending of the first episode ended with a lot of really heated courtroom drama, especially from Corey realizing how duped and betrayed he was. Gotten over a decade locked up just because you tried to help out a friend. Oh yeah, I already put down that law enforcement never assumed for a moment that these kids were not guilty. And another quick side note, another what the hell I had in my mind was what the hell Golden Globes. Because I look up the nominations for Golden Globes this year, and I would think for something like this that it would sweep certain categories, right? I saw Jharrel Jerome up there for, was it Best Actor in a Leading Role for a Drama, or was it a Supporting Role for a Drama? I'm not quite positive. I think it was Leading. But you'd think for Best Limited Series or Best Miniseries / TV Movie category, this shit would have been a lock. It's not up there. And I'm not sure why that is. It's very odd that probably one of the best pieces of TV this entire year does not get that specific nomination. Not only should it have gotten nominated that year, I'm not sure what else got nominated, but it should have fucking won. Because it seems like just too good of a story and too, relevant of material to just leave out. But the way award shows are done are very political and bullshitty, so it's a whole nother beast. Oh yeah, Jharrel Jerome and all the other actors as well deserve all the critical praise that they're getting. Just marvelous performances across the board. The last 2 episodes in general, Corey Wise and one of the Latino young man, I believe his name was Raymond Santana Jr. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Raymond Santana Jr. But the one who John Leguizamo played his father, and the one who his father being the only one who ever called him when he was in prison, called him every chance he got, and he ends up getting sent back into prison because the only job he can find when he gets out is selling drugs. When you're broke and you're desperate and you're in a poverty-stricken New York City neighborhood, and there's no other viable way to make a good, substantial amount of money in a short amount of time, you resort to flipping bricks. You sell cocaine. That was the 90s, or in this case, the 90s / early 2000s. Yeah, it's just... Yeah, oh yeah, I put that already. Oh yeah, the final episode just showing how each of them, as grown men, try to uh, re-enter society after so many years locked up for something they didn't do. Like Antron is really still has animosity and anger towards his father because his father was basically bribed by a cop uh, to lock his son up. The cop essentially telling him, "Now, I see you got a good job, sir. It would be an awful shame if your boy getting thrown in the penitentiary would affect that occupation of yours. You know, fucking with him, saying you're going to lose your job because him being in the news for raping and killing a white woman is going to make you look bad as well." So his father, played by Michael Kenneth Williams, by the way, amazing actor. If you've never seen Boardwalk Empire, watch it. Uh, he's chalky white in that, and I can't believe I've never seen The Wire, but I need to watch that as soon as I get HBO. He's got to essentially tell his son, "You need to lie so that I don't lose the house, I don't lose money." So after he finally gets out of jail years later as a grown man, his father's sickly. He's ill. Like, he's got to walk around with a walker. He needs a nurse to spoon feed him. And Antron was I think, the shortest out of all these kids. He grew up to be a grown ass man. Like, he lifts weights. He's got huge muscles, and he doesn't even want to look at his father's face. Like, you can, and his father gets it, but it still hurts. So there's a lot of, even though there's a lot of anger, there's still a lot of raw, powerful emotion in there, especially family drama. There's a lot of deep family drama that can cut low. Especially one that I didn't expect at all was towards the end, where, again, my research knowledge is limited, but I had no idea Corey Wise had a trans sister, or trans brother that transitioned into his sister, because they referred to him as or her as, God, who was his original name? Norman, who became Darcy? Not Darcy. Somebody let me know what her name was. But actress who played her was beautiful. They were really close, and he gets told in a prison church that she was murdered. And he flashes back to when she has an argument with his mom about her being trans, and him just kind of just breaking down because he realizes, well, I feel like I have nobody who loves me in this world. And knowing that he found the one prison guard who's not a dickhead, who actually embraced him after realizing this horrible thing, there's a lot of, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of powerful, raw, emotional moments, and it makes it really compelling. And I've seen a lot of people on Facebook timeline or what have you say, I really don't know if I want to watch this. I don't know. It's gonna make me feel sad. It's gonna piss me off. Where it will absolutely do that, but I still highly, highly recommend you watch it anyway, because this, like, if I was a high school teacher, I would show this in either an English or history class, because it's a really, it's entertainment, sure, but it's like vital information for anyone who needs to know how flawed legal systems and justice in America can be, and how institutionalized and systemic racism have been fervent and serious problems since, I don't know, America became America. Oh yeah, well, I already said that's Selma being a close second. It's the best piece of filmmaking I've seen. Ava DuVernay, just a miraculously fine portrayal of true events, and a damn good job overall. The ending showing how this aftermath played out, how after these young men got let out of prison, they sued the city of New York for wrongful imprisonment. And like I said, you can't buy that time back, but you can say, you owe me for this. You stole a good portion of my life, and I'll never get it back, but I'm getting something out of it. And for over a decade, the city refused to settle because they were convinced, oh, we can take care of this in court, no problem. They did not want to admit that wrongdoing until about 2014. A new administration took over, and they finally settled for, I think, a little over I think it was $43 million. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was over $40 million. And Corey being the only one not to leave New York. Matter of fact, he owns a penthouse overlooking Central Park. Like, there's a real sign of like, yeah, I'm not leaving. This is my home, and I'm going to keep it my home. I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to live in this nice, beautiful place now. So, yeah, as emotion-packed as it is, as infuriating as it is... Oh, speaking of infuriating, I forgot to mention this fucking bitch. Linda Fairstein. If I didn't know who this woman was before, this bitch can burn in hell. This woman has to be every blonde psycho bitch on Fox News' hero. This not so subtly racist hoe, man. She spent years writing detective novels while these guys were in jail for something she accused them of not doing. And I say Fox News specifically because she uses that race-baiting Fox News rhetoric. She rarely calls these kids or boys. What words does she use? Thugs, criminals, animals, ne'er-do-wells, hoodlums, ruffians, just all the real slangy terms that middle-aged, bigoted white people use to avoid using the word that they actually want to use. You know, it starts with N, ends with R, and it's not neighbor. Anywho, overall, yeah, one of the best pieces of TV of the entire year. If you got Netflix, watch it. It's almost 5 hours of TV. I would be hard-pressed to forget because it is masterfully done. Out of 5 stars, it's an easy 5. It's not even a question. The fact that this is getting praise is much deserved. It deserves all of the 5-star reviews, all the glowing praise, because even the actors who have really small parts, like Blair Underwood, his role as a lawyer in the first episode, the one that no one assumes is even that good of a lawyer, because, oh, he's a divorce attorney? Why is he sticking up for this kid and, you know, for a murder trial or a murder/sexual assault trial? And he gets up there, and he has probably one of the best speeches of any of the lawyers up there. It's like, wow, you hired the right guy for this job. But the kids still ended up getting locked up because, like I said about 10 times already, the system is fucked. Yeah, 5 stars, easy. You got Netflix, please check it out. It is could not be an easier recommendation for top 10 shows of the year, maybe even top 5. Yeah, it's got to be at the top 5 because it was really, really good. And there's a couple other miniseries I got to get to reviewing. One of them that I already finished from Hulu, and another one from Netflix that I'm about halfway through right now that I'll put up a review for when I'm done with that, as well as the movie one for Ford v Ferrari that I saw a couple days ago that I really liked. So, yeah, that's When They See Us. You got Netflix, please check it out. And that's another Stoner review. Take it easy.